So what's happened to Blackburn Rovers? We're flying high, and now 3 games, and everything's just turning to dust. Let's find out exactly what's been happening. On social media, people are saying the manager needs to learn some lessons. They need to start Koji Dewberry, Ahashi, and Cantwell and decide on the 3 players behind Ahashi and work at it. Well, we're going to get the view of Mark, Tom, and Harry on this week's edition of Rovers Walk. We're also asking them, of course, for the what the home atmosphere has been like at Ewood Park and what's the earliest they've ever left a Rovers game. Welcome to the quickest and most comprehensive review of all things Blackburn Rovers on the internet. We're going to review Plymouth and also talk about what on earth has happened to Rovers. It was promotion 2 weeks ago. Now it's looking more like mid-table. Let's review it all. All right, welcome back to where Rovers walk. Harry, did we peak too early in our enthusiasm for this Rovers side?
I think it might just be a little bit of a reality check, to be honest. I think we were starting to get a little bit carried away with ourselves. I mean, we're always going to lose at some point. It's not the losses that I'm particularly worried about. It was the performances that were just well off the pace in both occasions, Coventry and Plymouth. I didn't think we really had a prayer, and I think we were lucky that we didn't lose by more in the Plymouth game, to be honest.
It's exactly what the Plymouth fans said. It should have been 4 or even 5. Some of them actually said. Mark, what do you put this down to then? I mean, Coventry, you don't have a good record at anyway, so I think we could probably see that one coming. But the performances have just dropped off a cliff, haven't they, since the Preston result, really?
Yeah, I think I think the last 3 away games, like I said, with the Preston and the 2 games just gone, have been really poor performances. I'm not sure if we're set up right away from home. I don't know if the game plan has been a bit more stay in the game for as long as possible and then try and attack later on. So I think it has been a little bit more defensive away from home. But it's not been good at all. The performances have been really, really poor away from home in these last 3. So something definitely needs to change. But I do think that we've got the balance hasn't been right at all, and the way we've been set up, I just don't think it's working at the minute away from home.
Cheers for that, Mark. Tom, at the start of the show, I showed you Aaron's review. His point was to start Koji Dewberry, Ahashi, and Cantwell. Can I ask you all to just discuss those 3 in particular, and what 3 players would you put all behind Ahashi?
See, it's a tough one because I do think Cantwell has got so much to offer. I don't think he's fully fit yet, and I don't think any players behind the striker have kind of done themselves any favours the last few games. I mean, something's got to change in the next game against Swansea. I would personally bring on perhaps Sigurdsson on the left for something a bit different, and maybe give Dolan a rest. He looked a bit tired. Most of that midfield, I think, did look a bit tired. And I know what Harry was saying last week about Gay, and I know a lot of people I've been reading on social media have not been particularly impressed with him being the new next Sam Gallagher. And I've seen someone even commenting saying, a wave to the crowd and a fist pump's only going to get you so far with the Blackburn fans. You've got to start doing more than just having a smile on your face. So I think perhaps if it was me, I'd play Sigurdsson on the left, maybe Cantwell number 10, and perhaps stick with Vyman on the right, or maybe Joe Rankin Costello.
I think a couple of players probably need taking out the firing line. I think Dolan's for one. I was going to mention Dolan last week, actually, even though I know he played well. He's a player that I think even when he's playing at his pomp, he's still someone we could probably do with getting a little bit more out of in terms of contributions, goals and assists, whatever. I'm not sure the 10 is really his position, and we want to work out where we actually want to play him this year. So I'd take him out the firing line. I think I'd take Vyman out the firing line as well. I was sort of under the impression when he came in that he would sort of be a bit of a bit part player, and I think maybe he's got more minutes than anyone had necessarily anticipated. And at his age, he probably does need taken out the firing line. I'd definitely bring Hedges back into the starting 11. And I'd start Koji Dewberry on the other flank as well. It's just a matter of who plays in that 10. I'm not entirely sure, unless you play Ahashi in the 10 and Gay up front, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think all pretty good suggestions then, but I think it definitely something needs to change. And I think, like you said, certain players, and we mentioned Dolan, don't want to obviously single out a player too much, but yeah, Dolan definitely needs to drop out of that team. And I don't know, we just need to mix it up a little bit more and give some of the other players a chance now, I think.
I think the beauty of this season, though, we've got a lot of strength in depth, and whereas in previous years we haven't had that ability to rotate players, and it's almost like for like. This year we have got players that can come in and fill the void, like Hedges. I didn't even mention Hedges, and John Buckley as well. We've got, you can come in there, and there's other players that can come in and got a point to prove. So I think on these next couple of weeks, Eustace has got a few things to think about on the training pitch to try and make a few changes to make an impact against Swansea, because we've got 3 games coming up at home out of the next 4. So that's hopefully where we can get some more points.
Yeah,
absolutely. We wanted to be too negative because most of social media was, but just some other points. This came up last week, Tom, but Tommy says that manager got the starting lineup completely wrong again. Couldn't get a response. We lacked heart over 90 minutes. We didn't turn up, didn't deserve anything, badly beaten. Poor performances continue, need serious work. Not your business, says anybody that thought we'd be anywhere near playoffs needs their head checking. The last 2 performances reflect last season. I don't think we'll be in a relegation fight. We'll be max mid-table. Does it remind you a little bit of some of those performances last season? These 2 when you've been at Coventry and you've been at Plymouth?
Yeah, it's hard to not be, we don't want to be too down on the team because we have started off so well. And up until last week, I was thinking we were going to win the league because we were doing so well. And I don't think a couple of games, it was always going to happen at some point. We were always going to fall off. And our results against Coventry are never usually quite good. And Wayne Rooney has got Plymouth playing well. And I think we just weren't at the races. The players got tired. I think a rest has come at the right time. I think it's not all doom and gloom. So, I mean, at the start of the season, if you'd have asked me after 8-9 games, we'd be 4 points off the top and just narrowly in and around the playoffs, I'd have bit your hand off with that because I thought it would be a real struggle, as did most Blackburn fans. So I think there's lots more positives to take away than the negatives.
Okay. All right, then. On next week's episode, then, we are going to preview the game against Swansea, and we're also going to be asking this lot for their rejuvenated season predictions because we'll be 10 games in, and of course we're allowed to do that. But before we finish on this week's episode, let's talk about home match atmospheres. We're doing this because there's been a report that the Championship hasn't been lighting up atmospheres up and down the country. So Leeds, the 2 Sheffield clubs, Sunderland, Hull, Norwich, all reporting flat atmospheres. Now, Ewood has been, Harry spoke about it a lot last year in terms of the quietness of the ground, attendances, but how's it been for you, Mark, versus what you expect it to be and how it can be? Have you felt at times it could even still be improved at Ewood?
Yeah, I think it can always be improved. I don't think it's been rocking for years, if truth be told. This season's been good because obviously we've won every home game so far this season. So obviously that's added to the atmosphere, and there's been a few extra numbers in. Last season was obviously very poor. I think did we win six home games all season? So it was very flat for the majority of last season. So yeah, I think it can always improve. I think, as I said, I'm going back years ago, obviously to the certainly the glory days of the Premier League days when Ewood was truly rocking. So I don't think it'll ever get to those heights unless we got back to the Premier League. But certainly this season, last couple of home games, because again, we've won quite comfortably in both our last 2 home games. The atmosphere has been pretty decent, to be fair.
I remember last year the FA Cup game, which was on TV against Newcastle.
Yeah.
The Blackburn fans then sounded tremendous. One of the best atmospheres to remember. It's just a shame, isn't it, that people don't come gaming because you can make that stadium like that every game. Then you possibly could win. Every game at home. Harry, what about for you?
Yeah, well, what you're saying about the Newcastle game, it shows, like most football clubs, I'm sure it shows that there's potential there for the ground to be rocking if you could get people to turn up, but I mean, it's never that easy. Confident success is going to bring people back. If we keep winning home games, more people are going to come back. But yeah, I mean, it's as far as grounds go. It's not going to be ones that away fans go to, and the atmosphere is rocking. I think, if anything, the one thing I would say is I think the away fans are actually too far away from the home fans for any sort of back and forth to really be going on, which might be a contributing factor. But yeah, I mean, there's so many empty seats in the stadium. It's really difficult to create that sort of intimidating atmosphere.
All right, and finally, then this week, what's the earliest you've ever left a Blackburn Rovers game? Pop it in the comments below. We're asking this because most Sunderland fans missed Mellier's complete howler in their game, having left the stadium. So, asking, is it ever okay to leave a ground early? Tom, what's the earliest you've ever left? You strike me as a man who stays to the bitter end.
I learned my lesson the hard way. I think it was 2007, 2008. I was at West Brom away, and we were 2-0 down, I think it was, and I left with about 10 minutes to go, and I missed 2 goals, a red card, and a penalty. So I thought, off the back of that, I'm not gonna walk away again. And I've been to some late away game dramas because where I live in the country, I can't always go to Ewood Park, so I go to quite a few of the away games, and I would never leave a game early off the back of that.
Okay, Mark.
Oh, I'm going to say in recent years, probably gets earlier and earlier now. But no, in all seriousness, where I sit, the guys will probably relate to. Obviously, in the Riverside, you can go down to the front and go into the corners at the end of the game. So I might leave my seat earlier if it's not going so well, but I'll tend to hang about in the corner. And as soon as the final whistle goes, I'm off. So there has been quite a few of those moments over the last few seasons, to be fair.
Go on, Harry. What are you? I was just trying to wrap my brain, and I don't think I ever have, to be honest. I don't know. It sounds, you say well, but I genuinely don't think I have. I do remember being probably 5 or 6 years old at Villa away, and we were losing 4-0 early on in the second half. And I remember being a little kid crying to my dad, begging to go home, and he said, "No, son, we're staying. You're learning this the hard way." So yeah. So I don't think I ever have.
All right. Can you beat that? Drop it into the comments below. All right. Thank you very much, you lot. We'll see you on the other side of the international break as we preview, of course, Swansea and Plymouth. West Brom, at home. See you next week.